I've got a confession to make, folks. I don't like PCP car finance. And one of the main reasons for that is because I don't think people fully understand what it is they're signing up for. So I'm going to have a little look into this and explain a few things that you might not know about PCP. Now, firstly, I have to say, it's not completely universal. You can sometimes get a good deal on a PCP. And in strange times, sometimes you can get a fantastic result from a PCP. We happen to see people that had really good results with their PCP finance during the pandemic, for example. But I think you'll agree that's not something that happens every day of the week. And except for things like that, or perhaps world-changing events that our grandchildren's grandchildren might be discussing at school one day, I think on 9 times out of 10 it's not the best thing for the consumer, but actually quite good for the person selling you the finance. So let's first look at the interest. Two things here. The first one being people get an interest-free PCP and think they've got the best thing on earth. Not always the case, folks, because sometimes that interest-free PCP is given to you, but then they're not giving you the discount you would have had if you'd have been paying interest on your PCP. So it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors. They're actually keeping the price of the car higher, but giving you interest-free finance. So bear that in mind. But the main point here really is how the interest is calculated on the PCP and how most people are completely unaware of it. Let's say, for example, you buy a £30,000 car and you put down a £5,000 deposit. Or, for example, the dealer gives you £5,000 part exchange for your car and that becomes the deposit. So you've got £25,000 outstanding on the car. Now, at the end of that PCP will be the optional balloon payment, which you have to pay if you want to keep the car. Let's say that's £15,000. So the bit that you're actually paying instalments on is £10,000. So you think to yourself, well, I'm in effect borrowing 10 grand, so that's the bit I'm paying finance on, right? That's the bit I'm paying interest on. Wrong. You're paying interest on the entire amount because the car's worth 30 grand, you're putting 5 grand down, and until you pay that balloon payment at the end, you've essentially borrowed that big chunk of money as well. And a lot of people are not aware of this. A lot of people think they're just paying interest on the bit that they're essentially paying off every month. But they're not. They're paying interest on the whole lot minus their deposit. Now, lots of people at the end of a PCP choose not to pay that final balloon payment because quite often it's actually more expensive than it would be to just go and buy a car second-hand. And they choose not to do it. That means they've been paying interest on an amount of money that they were never going to pay back. And that just seems a bit odd. And it's things like this, and the amount of the monthly payment you pay and then the amount of the final payment that's left to pay that can sometimes make a PCP look cheap when you first sign up for it, and at the end of it you sort of think, maybe it wasn't the best way to go. And my main problem with all of that is it's not generally explained thoroughly at the point of sale. You might be given some document and you sign to say you've read it, but very few people go through these things. And I think it's that lack of explanation that grinds my gears a little bit, if you'll pardon the pun. It can also obviously mean you're left in negative equity. If you put your deposit on a car, you're paying your monthly payments and you decide you want to get out of it, you may find that you actually owe more than the car is currently worth. And that means you're in negative equity, essentially. Now, unbelievably, some car dealers will use that as a sales tool. They'll use your negative equity as a sales tool. You could call them and say to them, I want to give this car back early. It's not the one for me anymore. It doesn't suit my needs right now, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say, actually, the settlement figure on this is X and you owe us X. Actually, there's £3,000 difference. But you need not worry about that because we can roll it into your next deal. Why don't we put you in another car and we can just roll that across that deal? You hardly notice it. It's only going to be X amount per month. All you're really doing at that stage then is compounding interest and compounding debt, and it's just going to go on and on and on. You might end up with one monthly payment, but you're essentially financing part of your old car still, possibly for another 3 or 4 years, as well as the one you're currently driving, the new car that they've put you into. And that just doesn't seem like a wise move. And the thing that annoys me most about PCP is that people are often forced into sitting through car finance presentations that they want no part of. They might have decided they're going to finance the car themselves, either with cash or with a bank loan or some other mechanism, and the car dealership will tell the customer that actually, due to compliance reasons, they have to sit through this presentation and go through all loads of different details and bits and bobs. Now, a massive part of that is the car finance presentation, and even though you've told them 15 times that you want to pay cash, or you've arranged your own finance, or you've got a loan, however you're doing it, they will make you sit through that presentation and they will challenge you on the way that you've chosen to pay. Wouldn't you prefer this? Wouldn't this be a better idea? How about this? You are being sold to at this point. It's not a compliance presentation, it's a sales presentation. You'll then be offered their gap insurance, which is often being sold at a grossly inflated rate, and is part of the reason the FCA sort of pulled the product from availability for everyone for a little while, not too long ago. That's when they're going to offer you things like paint protection, which is very often not all it's cracked up to be. And they're going to offer you things like service plans, any other number of products they may offer you as part of that presentation. The main issues for me with this are it basically pressures people into considering their car finance, or at least hearing about it. And not everyone is that financially savvy. And if they're being told something's a good idea, some will obviously believe it's a good idea. Really, my hope is that everyone has as much information as possible and they make their own decision based on the information that's available to them. If you've already made your decision, they're just wasting your time. And thirdly, the FCA, and to sell car finance, they have to be authorised by the FCA, or they have to be an appointed representative of an authorised company, says they can't do it. So let me quote a few things from the FCA handbook that explains this. FCA Principle 6, a firm must pay due regard to the interests of its customers and treat them fairly. Forcing a finance discussion on someone who clearly isn't interested does not constitute fair treatment. There are some weird references in the handbook. Conc 2.5.2R, unfair or improper business practices. A firm must not use misleading or oppressive behaviour when dealing with a customer. Basically coercing or a customer into sitting through a finance presentation could be seen as being oppressive behaviour, especially if that's tied to actually progressing the sale. In other words, if you don't sit through it, I can't sell you this car because of compliance laws. I'm really sorry about that. It's not my doing, it's theirs, it's them, it's they. That's a nonsense. Conc 3.3.1R, financial promotions and communications. A firm must ensure that a communication or financial promotion is clear, fair, and not misleading. Implying that a customer must listen to a finance agreement is misleading them into thinking it's mandatory. So again, they're not allowed to do that. Consumer duty, cost-cutting rules. This is from 2023 onwards. Firms must act to deliver good outcomes for retail customers. Again, forcing them into a finance product that they may have told you repeatedly that they don't want may not be seen as acting in good faith. So in summary, folks, I'm not telling you to never get yourself a PCP deal. It may be that there's an amazing deal that's PCP only and it looks absolutely wonderful and it makes perfect sense and you understand all of this stuff. But that's the key thing, is that you understand what you're signing up for, and that's the reason for making this video. I'm not trying to put anyone off making a decision they would have otherwise made. I'm trying to make sure really that as many of you as possible are making decisions that you understand. But it shocks me every time I speak to someone that's been sold something that they clearly don't understand. And yes, you can blame the person for signing up for something they don't understand, but there has to be some level of integrity from the person selling the product as well, to actually give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And if you still want to sign up after that, great. But if they're having to disguise the truth to get you to buy it, maybe it's not that good in the first place. The next time you go to buy a car or to lease a car, whichever way you decide to do it, go armed with the facts. And of course, if you're offered gap insurance as part of that process, have a look at ALA Insurance. They are a sponsor of my channel. I do get paid to promote ALA, So cards on the table, you know, we're talking about full transparency here, and I've given you full transparency. But when you get a quote for your gap insurance from one of these people that's selling you car finance, have a look at the differences in cover and the differences in price and make your decision based on that. You can also use the code JIM10 at checkout to save yourself 10%. And I hope, just even if it's only a handful of you, I hope some of you think twice before just almost blindly signing up for your next PCP deal. I was brought up at the time when the advice from pretty much everyone's parents was you save up for something and then you buy it. And that's how you do it. I can tell you now, that in my personal opinion, in 2025, that's not always the best way to do things. Sometimes you are setting fire to your pound notes and getting a worse product on the back of it. But if you are dipping your toe into the water with finance products, you need to understand them. And it's important that you know that the person that's selling it to you is possibly not giving you the whole truth. So make sure you understand, make sure you're making a decision based on what's right for you and your personal circumstances. And don't let anyone else tell you what that decision should be. I hope you found this one useful, folks. Please subscribe to the channel. Please give the video a thumbs up. Leave a comment and let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you on the next one. Huge thanks to all my channel members for your continued support. I really do appreciate it.